I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us feel like we're in prison. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. Tired of the madness, done with the sadness. Gonna break free and be unleashed.
Hey, so why is it that when a woman heals, we don't follow her example? Instead, we idolize her or put her on some sort of pedestal. We turn her into some sort of superhuman, like that level of healing isn't available to us, or it's kind of out there somewhere.
Yeah. And that's most likely because it's safer to admire someone else's healing and accomplishments than to face our own healing.
Well, we know that's true.
Right. And sometimes it's not even just about the healing. It's that concept of they've achieved something or they've accomplished some grand thing that, oh, we could never do that. And it's also easier to focus on the end result than all the work that went into getting them there. So it just feels unreachable for us because we think they just took one big leap and all of a sudden they're there. We go, oh my God, that's way too big a leap for me to take.
Yeah, or we think that's just not possible at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there's something special. They had some extra little boop, boop juice when they came into being. But when we idolize instead of integrate with these people, we stay stuck where we are. And we keep giving our power away, and that becomes a leash, which is what we're all about in this podcast, is talking about the leashes that keep us stuck and held back. But it's actually one that we have control over if we take the path of doing the work on ourselves, pushing past the roadblocks and hurdles, and staying committed to conquering our own mountain.
And so we're going to talk about that today. And you're listening to Unleashed AF, the podcast that tears off the mask, breaks the leashes, and dares you to lead like your power actually matters, because it does. I'm Deidre Beecham, visibility catalyst and creator of the Medusa of Fact. I spent years trapped in my nice girl training, performing, pleasing, people pleasing, and disappearing into holes of oblivion. But unlearning has changed everything, and now I help women to burn their masks, reclaim their voice, and feel safe in taking up space, fully, unapologetically, and in their own power.
Yes. And I'm Jenny Badig, a certified hypnotherapist, coach, human factors engineer, and liberator of your subconscious superpowers, which is a long title, but fun, I think, and accurate. I help people understand and unleash what's already inside them so that they can stop sabotaging and start soaring. And together we are leash breakers, dream makers, risk takers. Don't you mess around with us. I'm still not in the mood to try to sing that again because it didn't go well.
You'll do
We got to try to make a little recording, like do it once and do it right and be done. Because
there you go.
I'll get myself to do it live. So if you love what we're about, hit like, follow, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments, or you can go to unleashedafpodcast.com and go to the WWJDD page, which is What Would Jenny and Deidre Do? We're here to expose the leashes, explore what it really means to be free, and to help you step into your fully authentic, unleashed life.
Awesome. And this today's episode actually stems from a video that we saw. I think actually, Jenny, you saw it and then told me about it. And we're like, oh, that's pretty cool. So we're actually going to start the podcast out by watching this video. It is, let's see, how long is it? It's about a minute and a half. But it has an interesting topic and we'd like to delve into it. So let's see, let me put this over into demo. And here we go.
I asked AI, why does humanity choose to worship enlightened beings instead of learning from them? And this is going to blow you away. It's because worship keeps them separate. It creates distance. It builds a golden pedestal we can admire from afar, so we never have to climb it ourselves. When we worship, we say, that's divine, but I'm not. They're chosen, I'm just human. It's the ego's perfect strategy to avoid transformation. Because if I truly saw myself in the enlightened one, I'd have to take responsibility for my life, my vibration, my healing, and my evolution. And that's terrifying to the parts of us still clinging to victimhood. Worship is comfortable. It gives us someone to follow instead of becoming the leader of our own soul's path. But the awakened ones, Jesus, Buddha, Yeshua, Krishna, they didn't come to be worshipped. They came to mirror back what you are at your core. They came to activate you. They were never saying, look at me. They were saying, look within. Jesus didn't say, bow to me. He said, you will do greater things than I. The real reason we put them on a pedestal is because we're scared to stand on it ourselves. We're scared of what it would mean to fully embody our divine nature, because when you awaken, there's no one left to blame, no one left to save you, and no one left to follow. Just you, God, and the path ahead. And that's where true freedom begins. I believe most of us are just scared of true freedom and what it would look like if we became the enlightened one instead of worshiping enlightened ones.
No, it's very, very interesting. And I know that when I heard that, I thought, well, that's true, but it's true, but because I can certainly see that side of it. But I think the part that the AI is missing out on is that there is another dynamic that comes into here that the patriarchy has grabbed a hold of and utilized religion to make it happen, which is to teach women to place others on pedestals. And not just religious figures or political figures or people in authority, because religion is used to do all of those, but also to place your husband on a pedestal or men on a pedestal or alpha men on pedestals and to follow them, and for women to just be humble, quiet, and grateful.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because when I did a little more digging, one of the things I wanted to do, because I'm not sure which AI this guy used when he asked that question. So I asked a couple of different AIs, basically the same question, to see what kind of deviation there was in the answer. There was a lot of similarity. I mean, they approached it from different ways, but the same basic concepts that he talked about. But then I wanted to go a little step further, and I said, well, who are the most popular enlightened beings? Like, what would you consider these enlightened beings that people tend to worship more than learn from? And everyone mentioned was male. But then I also did a search and said, well, which of the enlightened beings tend to be less worshipped and more learned from? So which ones aren't necessarily put on a pedestal as like, oh, we could never be there, but more like, oh, we need to live like they lived. And it was the ones that come from, so first of all, the list of like the top 5 enlightened beings that it gave me initially was Buddha, Jesus, Laozi, I guess, which is part of Taoism, Confucius, and Zarathustra, which I never heard of before. But then when I asked, based on those enlightened beings you listed, and I also added in, I said, well, would Gandhi be an enlightened being? He's like, sure, yeah, Gandhi too. Add Gandhi to the list. Like, okay. But then I said, the ones that are least worshipped and more learned from, what are those? And it said Confucius would be like the top one that people really do try to learn from and not just worship. Laozi, which is Taoism, Buddha, and Gandhi. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Because none of those would fall into the white supremacy, typical patriarchy kind of moniker. So I thought, yeah, there's definitely something to the fact that that white men have decided to use this concept of worshiping to manipulate people, really. Because when you have this external source of this is what's good and this is what everything should be, and you can attach to that the idea that, oh, if you just worship this, then you're on the good list, then you can make up all kinds of shit and rules about what it takes to stay on the good list, because there's no personal responsibility there. Because now
Right.
it's all about worshiping that thing. And as long as you say you worship that thing.
Which I think is really interesting. And it brings up for me that people use this argument to say, well, if you're an atheist, how can you possibly know what's right and wrong?
Yeah.
Well, because they're so used to having this deity to follow, and there's rules, right? There's the 10 Commandments, and then all the red letter words in the Bible, and then the phrases that some Christians, not all, well, it seems like a lot right now because we hear about it a lot because of Christian nationalism, but picking and choosing different verses from the Bible, no matter where they're from, to actually make points, even though they're pulled out of context or utilized in an incorrect way. But absolutely to keep controls, like you were saying, Jenny.
Yeah.
Keeping controls. And I think certainly a lot more to keep women down, but inside of religion, it also keeps other men down. If you don't aspire to be a certain way, if you don't become the beacon, if you don't become some sort of a leader, then you're looked down upon or frowned upon, even though there can't be that many leaders. There's only a certain number of them.
Right.
But it's all about control.
Yes. And most of the people who I guess are considered enlightened do end up having some sort of religion formed based on them being the enlightened leader of that religion. Not all, but most. Like, I was surprised when it spit out Eckhart Tolle. I was like, Eckhart Tolle, he's not like one of these things is not like the other. There's no Tolleism.
Yeah, it doesn't have the Eckhart Tolleism. That's good.
But
yeah, and I think it's interesting that as a result of this, like women are taught, and I think from a very early age, at least I was, and I know a lot of women that were taught this, to fear their own power, right? To fear too muchness, being too loud, too confident, too powerful. I remember when I was a kid, and I was a straight A student in school, and I remember talking to somebody about raising my hand in school, and they're like, well, you're not going to get a boyfriend that way. What? You're not going to get a boyfriend that way. Yeah, you're showing off. Don't show off. And I was thinking to myself, that's not showing off. I'm just being myself. But what's the lesson there? Yeah, but what's the lesson there? Hide.
Keep quiet. Yep.
Hide. Yep. Keep quiet. And I know that I'm not the only person that happened to. I mean, every other woman that was in that class with me got the same lesson.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. And one thing that has stuck with me over the years, I mean, I was raised Catholic, as we've talked about before, but don't practice Catholicism anymore. And I remember as I got to be an adult, I started to realize certainly that there is a lot of hypocrisy in that religion in terms of, oh, do this so that you can stay on the good list, the heaven list. But one of the things I remember most as an adult looking back on, I'm like, well, that is just sort of an excuse. Is yes, you will sin. God doesn't expect you to be perfect, but if and when you sin, you just must ask for forgiveness. And then you get back on the good list. And
Right.
I'm like, so, because there was one particular lady that I worked with when I was at Harris, who she was at church every freaking Sunday. And I did for a little bit once I moved to Florida. I went to a Catholic church down here just to kind of see how different they were.
Sure.
And she was, man, she would go in there and she was on her knees praying before Mass even started. And I thought, man, she was really a bitch this week. And I think she must just be trying to pray off all the bad shit she did to people. Because if you do that, you just ask for forgiveness.
That's all you have to do. You don't have to actually change. Just come to church once a week and ask for forgiveness.
Right.
Or get down on your knees.
I mean, some of it you do on your own just by, praying and asking for forgiveness. But I remember having to go to confession when I was a kid, because that was part of the process of getting first communion or whatever. And at that point, you would go to confession and then the priest would tell you, okay, say like 2 Hail Marys and an Our Father or something like that, or do the rosary or whatever they decided to give you. And I was like, and that magically absolves what what the hell? It was just so ridiculous in my opinion. But it's, that's one of those things where they've manipulated, because they've convinced the people that this is like the golden standard and this is what you must believe. And to come anywhere close to be able to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must do the rules the way we tell you to do them. And each church has their own rules. Well, not each church, but like each religion has their own rules for what it takes to get you in. And everybody seems to think that that their rules are better. Well, my rules work and you're not actually going to get in. There's several people I've talked to in different religions that would say something like that. And I'm like, whatever you got to believe.
Yeah. But it's interesting that in doing so, that it has extended into other aspects, right? It's not just Jesus, Buddha, and I looked up Zarathustra, and actually an Iranian religious leader. So that's where that comes from, Zarathustra. And in doing that, it has extended to our lives. I know that I've seen people before, especially as I struggled to get in touch with who I am, to really dig deep and get to a point where I had increasing self-love, self-care. And I realized that I admired women who were able to just get out and say what they think without a filter. And I would look at them and think, oh, how do you do that? How do you get on camera and just be unfiltered like that? You're going to have horrible backlash. I mean, that's, that, because inside of me, and even though I wasn't thinking that specifically, it was what I felt.
Well, and that was probably a remnant of what you were told about raising your hand, right? It's a similar situation. Yes. There's going to be backlash. You won't be able to get a boyfriend or whatever the thing was. So that program stuck.
Yeah. It's really interesting how that stuff just kind of sticks with you, but it sticks with us into adulthood. I mean, we're talking about me being in my 40s, looking around going, how does that person do that? Or you'll see people who don't come out of their shell and really express who they are until they reach success. And then they come out and they start dressing wild and fully expressing themselves because they finally feel like they're in a safe place.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because, the more people I've been interviewing, I'm trying to interview 120 people about visibility. And the more people that I interview, the more women that I'm finding that have found success from just being themselves. That they were saying, the moment I just started being myself, floodgates opened up. The moment I stopped worrying about what other people thought and just about what I thought and really explored who I am, things opened up.
Yeah.
And did it piss some people off? Sure. But I wasn't hurting me anymore.
Right.
And it's like, oh, yeah.
Right.
And yet we put these people on pedestals when really it's the simplest thing to be yourself. And yet it's the hardest if you've had these things taught to you about idolizing other people and pushing people off because they must have a magic bullet. They must know something magical. They must have had some kind of advantage that I certainly don't have. And aren't they lucky? And oh, I wish I was that lucky.
Yeah.
When that doesn't have anything to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's funny, I just earlier today was watching a little video or post or something from a girl that's local down here to Melbourne, and she's gotten a few national acting gigs. And so her mom takes her around the country, she's been in a couple of series, like TV series, and she's filmed another one actually with Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson that'll be coming out on Apple TV whenever they have production done. But she did a throwback today about the first series that she booked when she was 5 years old. And the mom was recounting when they went in for the audition. She said, I remember as we were, driving home from the audition, she was all disappointed and upset with herself because she messed up like one line. But turns out she booked the thing anyway. And she said it was a good lesson in you don't have to be perfect with every word, but her personality came across, and that's what they liked. So, that fits right into this. If you can just be yourself, you don't got to be perfect with every little word or every little thing you do. That's what will shine and people will be attracted to.
Yeah, it's in a way, you and I talk about vibrations and frequencies sometimes. In a way, it puts you on a completely different vibration. It puts you on a completely different frequency. We've talked about how authenticity is actually the highest level vibration, higher than love. That the more authentic you can be, that the more attractive that is to the right people. It's going to push away other people. And what's his name? Gary Vaynerchuk talked about this a lot, about, just being yourself, and that's what's going to bring people to you, and that you're kind of a test as to whether you're being authentic or not is how many people are upset with you. Right? How many people don't like you? How many people show up and don't like you at all? They're repelled by you. And he always said that's exactly where you want to be. And for somebody who is raised with nice girl training, where you need to be a people pleaser, you need to idolize put other people above you, that's incredibly hard to do unless you've gone through the work.
Yes. And I think for a lot of people, there's just a sense, I don't know if this is socially kind of ingrained in us or just automatically biologically this is how the ego works. But the ego tends to be more comfortable with things as they are. The ego gets uncomfortable with the idea of changing things. So for a lot of people, I think it takes a pretty significant, like, triggering event to decide that they're going to start doing some like deep transformational personal work. But there's still plenty of people, even having some kind of triggering event like that decide, no, victimhood is easier. I'm just going to stay like in my huddled down space.
And sometimes I think it's a matter of comfort, right? So
for sure,
we're comfortable even in our discomfort. Sometimes that discomfort is what feels comfortable to you.
Yeah,
and
what you're used to.
exactly, because it's what you're used to. And that's why I tell people that it's not just mindset, because we can do mindset and we can help you to elevate where your mindset is. But if your nervous system is still back there comfortable in victimhood, if your nervous system is still comfortable back there where things weren't working well for you, then you're going to kind of get stuck there. You have to elevate your nervous system to a point where it's almost like you know how Olympic athletes will go through this whole visual of what's happening and what the course is going to be like, and then they jump in and do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in a similar way. I used to think, well, if things would just be a certain way, then I'll be able to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And no, you have to do this, you have to be this, and then things will be a certain way.
Right.
It's really backwards, but it also means that we have to trust ourselves and believe in our own personal power.
And know that there's going to be failures along the way, and we can keep getting up and continuing to go forward. For some reason, the imagery that came in my mind when you were talking about if things are just a certain way, then I can kind of jump in or go for it. The idea of double Dutch jump rope came up. I remember being so freaked out the first time I saw people doing that, like on the playground at school or whatever. I was like, how in the world do you ever jump into that thing? And then I'd see people do it. I'm like, that was like magic. I don't know what they've got, but
yeah.
And I think I did manage to do it at one point, but it sure didn't work on the first try. So it's like sometimes you can't just wait, because especially in that situation, the ropes are going and they're going and they're going. It's like there's never going to be, it's a rhythm. Like it's always, there's a rope in the way. I can't do it. But sure enough, you can, or it can be done. And you just got to do it. You just got to try it and then figure out, oh, that was a little late, or oh, that was a little early. If I go a little later, that'll work. Or you just got to do it. And oh man, that would have been a good video to have. I was thinking of a good, like positive, uplifting video we could have gotten for today. But the video that Steve Harvey did, this was years ago. I think it was somebody just asked him a question like in a parking garage or something, but it's You Gotta Leap, I think is what it's called on YouTube, where he talks about, you see these people soaring, you see eagles soaring up in the air, and you think, man, that could never, I wish I could be up there, man, but that could never be me. And he's like, they didn't start by soaring up in the air. They had to take a leap off of they had to get themselves up onto a high ledge and take a leap. And it's just the way he says it. I mean, it's maybe a couple minute long, 2 or 3 minute long video, but very inspirational, because you do just have to decide, if I really want to be up there, there is a way to do it. I just got to figure it out or watch and see how others are doing it, and I can get there too.
Yeah, and also trusting yourself. I think that's a huge component of this, because we can look at other people, and I agree. We can say, well, that's how they did it, so I can do that too. But if we're not trusting ourselves, each one of those steps that they took seems monumental.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to slip backwards. And especially if we're seeing the highlights of their life.
Exactly.
Right? We're surrounded by the highlights of people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
People tend to only put their best foot forward on social media.
Yeah.
And you're not seeing the failings, at least not a lot of them. There are some leaders that share their failings, but not a lot. Most of the time, people want to put their best foot forward and look at me, look how awesome I am. And look at how I've achieved this. So you need to come and be with me so you can achieve. But it's actually the leaders that share the failings, because they're not afraid of them. It's part of the process.
Yeah.
And I think that's incredibly important to recognize. I'm so glad you brought that up about failings, because there will be failures.
Yeah.
I think one of the greatest examples is watching a kid learn to walk.
Exactly. I don't know of any kid that just popped right up from crawling or sitting and walked perfectly without falling.
Right.
Ever.
And do you ever see a kid like fall down and like, I'm never trying that again? I mean, they don't talk at that point, but
Right. Exactly.
right? But they don't. They keep
Right.
trying because how exciting it is when they do get a couple of steps forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just, it's beyond excitement for not only them, but people watching.
Yes.
And we forget that. We're so focused on, because we're taught to focus on our own failings, that when we have a failure, we're like, it can be just so overwhelming, when not, we need to remember that happens.
Yeah.
That
Part
is
of the
just
process.
life. That is just
Absolutely.
absolute life.
Yeah.
There are failings.
Yeah. And even, I mean, not just learning to walk, but learning to talk is the other thing. Babies don't just start saying full words and full sentences and stuff like that. They're saying gobbledygook for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And it evolves. They eventually get how to move their mouth and how to make it come out right so that we can understand them. But that process takes years sometimes, to get a full vocabulary. And, and that's something about even to kind of go back into, you were mentioning before, like athletes envisioning things first.
Yeah.
When you think about most of the time when we're seeing athletes, they're competing at a very high level. You're not seeing like amateur athletes out there that are trying to work their way up into like a professional or Olympic kind of style thing. You're seeing the ones that have worked for years and trained for years to be as good as they are. But you're only seeing them, especially for the Olympics, you only get to see them like once every 4 years, and they've either got it or they don't. And the ones that don't usually get interviewed afterwards, so we forget about them. But we remember the ones that had it, and it's like amazing. I mean, gosh, I'm sure if you talked to Michael Phelps, for example, he could tell you he has not won every swim race he's been in. And there was even, we just talked not too long ago about the tennis players. And I think it was Roger Federer that has said recently that he has, even though, I mean, he was amazing, number one tennis player for years, and he lost more sets in tennis, I think, than he won or something like that, or it was barely any difference, which is kind of mind-blowing when you think about, like, he probably won hundreds of millions of dollars playing tennis, but he sure as hell
And yet
didn't
failed over and over
Yeah.
and over again.
Exactly.
Excuse me.
So there are failures out there.
Yeah. And so in order to experience true freedom, right, we have to stop admiring it and going from afar and going, oh, well, that's for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay for them, but not for me. And instead, go for it. Just start living it. And if you hit roadblocks, figure out what's going inside of you so that you can move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the earlier this year, I did a workshop where we were making bracelets with like our word of the year, like what was going to be our motivator from the year. And the thing that I came up with was play big. Because I thought I need that kind of motivation. I've often in the past almost used it as an excuse or a crutch to say, it seems like many people that I've seen really make it, like be huge successes, had to hit some really hard times first and then bounce back up from that. And so I was like, oh, it's like a trampoline. You can jump much higher if you've got a trampoline. So you got to go down first to be shot up higher. And I thought, well, I've had kind of a, sort of a flatline life. I haven't had huge ups and downs. It's been pretty like middle of the road. That's why I haven't been catapulted up to more success. So, I mean, I've used that for years. Not just, I mean, I've occasionally said it to other people, but mostly for myself.
Yeah.
I go, oh, well, that's why I'm not meant to be more
That's
successful.
why. That's why. Yeah. And
I
it's
don't
just not true. It's just those are the stories we hear.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that are sensational.
Right.
And so we those stories get retold and retold because they're fun, fascinating stories.
Yeah.
And it gives
The
us hope.
dramatic-
But like you're saying, it could also be used as an excuse. Well, I didn't come from whatever, whatever excuse you want to come up with. And so I have to have one of those stories, and too bad. That's just not me.
Yep.
And all of those things are just excuses. So do we have anything else before we move on, Jenny, that you wanted to share?
Well, one other thing that kind of came up for me as we were talking through some of this stuff was the fact that the path absolutely can be different for different people. And sometimes it is going to be easier for some people. Maybe they don't have to have as many failures to achieve success as other people might. And so the example of that, I think, one example of that is Tim Tebow, who was a very popular quarterback at University of Florida back in, I don't even know what years it was, probably 2000s or something. I mean, people freaking idolized him when he was quarterback for UF. And of course, at that point, they were thinking, oh my God, he's going to go into the NFL and be this big deal. Well, he did not. And he was one, even he admitted, I think, coaches, I think, mentioned it first, but then he, I think, has admitted that he didn't have like a natural athletic ability to be a quarterback. He had to like work hard and train hard to be as good as he got as a quarterback at UF. And that could be part of why things didn't translate and he didn't have any success in the NFL. But he still, I mean, just about anybody who lived in Florida 10, 20 years ago, whenever it was he was hot, they know his name. They know who he is. They know his accomplishments. Like, he definitely achieved a certain level of success and was, like I said, truly like idolized by some people. But he had to work hard for it. And other people, can be just a natural athlete and maybe not even. And Michael Jordan's another good example. Amazing basketball player. Yeah. Got cut from his junior varsity team in high school.
Yeah.
So he didn't start off with some natural, amazing superhero ability. He had to work for it too. So, it's hearing those kinds of stories, I think, is helpful in letting people know it's not like these people didn't have to struggle and work hard to get there. But then it's a question of, are you willing to struggle and work hard to get there? Is it worth it for you to try to go that far? Or are you just going to be happy with, your middle of the road or even below
your Groundhog Day?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. So for the Rebel Move of the week, this week, we want to dare you to stop romanticizing other people's confidence, right? And start reclaiming your own. You're not meant to idolize the power you see, and we see a lot of idolatry happening right now, but you're not meant to idolize the power you see. You're meant to actually grab it, live it, be it yourself, to be a force. So maybe you admire a friend that gets on camera without fixing her hair 10 million times before she shoots it, or has the perfect words, or how you see some people speak boldly about things, even though people are arguing with them or think their personal view is a little off kilter. Just so if you admire that maybe that's something you're supposed to be doing yourself. So take a stab at it. Do it. Maybe it's going live. Maybe it's wearing an outfit that you've always wanted to, but didn't want to face the criticism of it. Say the thing you've been censoring. Maybe it's really difficult for you to post things about the Black Lives Matter movement, or it's difficult for you to post things that are progressive. Because you're worried about the backlash from MAGA. First of all, there aren't that many of them. They're just loud. Yeah. And it's okay. And the more you do that, not only is it going to build your own confidence, but it's going to help other people's confidence as well. There's a ripple effect. It's unbelievable how many other people are seeing things and being affected by what you're doing. And you just don't know.
And I remember several years ago, I don't remember exactly what spawned it, but there was, I want to say it was like either a People magazine issue or something, where there was a whole, like the main theme of it was like celebrities, female celebrities without makeup.
Mm.
And to me, I thought that was great. I thought it was very empowering. And I was kind of in awe of, or proud of, I guess you'd even say, the women who signed up to do that, to be photographed, and where I don't think they even like airbrushed the photos, might have been a little bit, but they basically made it as natural as possible. And I know Alicia Keys for a while, for at least a year, maybe longer than that, was makeup free. And she's beautiful. She doesn't need makeup ever. Like, she was beautiful without makeup. So it just, you know, it's one of those things where to start seeing people be their true selves and not afraid of it, or not afraid of the backlash or whatever, just be authentically who they are, and like, take me or leave me. This is what you got. I think that's always inspiring.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And we're seeing more and more of it now. And I just love it. Which I think, you know, and of course there's going to be a backlash back. And I think that's why we see a lot of the backlash right now against women. But let's go on to notable news coming up tomorrow, in fact. Rage Against the Regime. If you want to learn more about that, you can go to 5050.1. Do you have that link somewhere, Jenny?
Yes.
There we go. 5050.1, and you can learn more. I think you can find exactly where your local event is occurring and participate in helping to save our democracy against the crazy happening right now in our White House. Also, remember to sign up at generalstrikeus.com. This is where you can sign up, and at some point we are going to have a general strike in America, hopefully sooner than later, to help force the issue of where the money comes from to make this country go round. Because right now a lot of things are happening. They're against the will of the people and more at the will of Trump and his cronies. If you want to have a more active participatory stance, you go to 5calls.org. And at 5calls.org, you can learn all about how you can get in touch with your local and national representatives and have your voice heard. Yeah, and I think that's all I have for this.
Yeah, our other favorite one that we like to mention a lot is that mobilize.us. Which may have some information about the Rage Against the Regime stuff for tomorrow, but definitely has a lot of information in terms of just opportunities to volunteer and support different movements. And
yeah, and it's very community focused as well.
Yeah. Love that one.
Fantastic. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, follow, share. If you have a topic or question, or if you want to be a guest, please go to our website at unleashedafpodcast.com. Go to WWJDD. What would Jenny and Deidre do? We would love to hear from you.
Yes, we would. So remember, you're not too much. You're not broken. The system is. You're unleashing. Keep going.
Awesome. Until then,
I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us feel like we're in prison. I'm ready to be